Hello, finally we have gotten to the end of unit 6. We are looking at session 6, and that is also the end of this course. I believe you are happy. We have worked out the effects of a change in the price of a commodity in session 5. We discovered that when the price of a commodity X falls, the consumer increases his or her consumption of the product. In this session, we shall see why changes in spending patterns occur when there is a change in price. We believe that by the end of the session, you should be able to define the income and substitution effects of a price change and also distinguish between the income and substitution effects of a price change. So let's now start. We want to start by looking at total effect of a price change. Let me draw a diagram where the budget line, say AB, will be tangential to an indifference curve at some point. So let me draw the diagram and we speak to it. Okay. Commodity Y, commodity X, our origin. First, I'll draw this. This is my A, this is my B. I can draw another one. I will assume that there will be changes in the price. This one is no change in income, which will shift the budget line. There is a change in prices, so it's going to rotate. So to let's say B is 101. I would have to get two indifferent curves. Let me erase this indifference curve. Should be underlined. Should be underlined. This I would name U1. This I would name U2. Now they are touching different points. I'll give this part P. I'll give this part say Q. So let me write down Q P. But I have to trace it to their respective X. So let me trace it. Cut. I'm gonna give this one X1, then I will give this one X2. Now let's talk to the diagram, or talk about the diagram. So with a fall in the price of X, we see that the consumer would now demand more of X, so it will shift this something like there's going to be a shift outside, or shift to the right, rotate. So let me use the word rotate for price change. There's going to be rotation of the budget line, but for income there will be a shift in the budget line. So let me use rotate. It will rotate outward, that is rotate to the right. So the new budget line is going to be AB1. So the A maintains, B changes. The B is actually 2 for the, let's say, the X. So we see that where the price fall of commodity X, the new budget line AB1 is tangential to the indifference curve U2 at point what? Q, as we can see in the diagram. The quantity of X consumed is what? X2. Now the movement from P to Q is measured by change in consumption of good X. That is X1, X2, and is defined as the total effect of the price change of X on the quantity demanded of X. The total effects can be decomposed into substitution effects and income effects. Normally, we will say maybe the total effect is the addition of the two. That is, the total effect to be, say, TE is equal to substitution effect plus what? Income effect. We are going to talk about the substitution effect and income effect separately in this very session. So let's talk about the substitution effect. Now, the substitution effect is the effect of change in price on the quantities consumed when the consumer remains indifferent between the original and the new combination of goods consumed. I would try and sketch a diagram here to explain this. Try and sketch a diagram to explain this so that we understand it better. So let's sketch So I'll have something like this. Y, X. I'll have my 0. Alright, then I'll sketch to here. Then I'll sketch to here. Then I'll say another. Let me assume a shift. So I would assume another line, say from here to here. All right. So let me name this part A, and then I will try and get two indifferent scales. So one here, the other is going to be somehow like this. So assume here is Q. This is Q. Assume that here is R. Let's assume that here is P. I would like to bring it down to some X. This will come here. So I can have this to be X1. I can make the R part X3 and this one rather X2. Now, since this part is A, I'll make this one say B. I'll make this D, but I'll bring C here. Then I'll make this one be exponent 1. This one will be my U1, this one will be my U2. Let's look at this diagram. I'm going to use this diagram to talk about the income effects. So now let's talk about the substitution effect. Now, to isolate the substitution effect, imagine drawing the hypothetical budget line CD. So look at CD, well, parallel to AB1, but tangent to the original indifference curve U1 at point R, as shown in this diagram. The hypothetical budget line CD being parallel to AB1 implies its slope reflects the new relative price of goods X and Y, because CD is tangent to indifference curve U1, and it allows the consumer to attain original level of satisfaction. The move from P on this diagram to R captures substitution effect. We are talking about movement, say here. We are on the same indifference curve, that is U1, but we are moving from P to 1. It captures what substitution effect. Alright, I hope you are getting it. The adjustment of demand to relative prices when income is adjusted to maintain the old level of satisfaction in the face of the fall in price of good X. That's how come, or that leads to the move from P to R. And so the substitution effect of a decrease in the price of X unambiguously increases the quantity of X demanded. So we see that it moved from what X1 to say X3 here. So the direction of the substitution effect never varies. And when the relative price of a good falls, the consumer substitutes more of the good which has become relatively cheaper for the other good. Thus, the change in consumption of X from X1 to X3 is the measure of the substitution effect. The substitution effect then is the change in consumption that occurs as a consequence of change in relative what? Prices. How about the income effect? Let's talk about it in the next slide. Now, the income effect is clearly the movement from R to Q. You can play back to look at the diagram that we sketched, R to, then look at R to Q. From R to Q, you can see that we even had different budget line. The budget line was CD, and for the budget line on which Q was on AB1. So we could see that there was increase in what income, which shifted the budget line from line CD to line AB1. And so as a result of that, we had to draw another indifference curve, which was the U2, and where it was at equilibrium with the budget line, or we are talking about the tangents, we indicated it to be what? Q. And so we see income effect clearly from the movement of R towards Q. So the change in the consumption that occurs as a sequence or consequence of change in real income, rather than associated change in price, leads to what we say the income effect. The direction of the income effect actually depends on whether the good is a normal good or inferior good, because there are times that maybe the price may fall or income may increase, but still the consumer may not want to, demand more of a particular good because the good may be inferior, or maybe the consumer may rather demand more or get into a different another indifferent scale if the good is a normal good. So we are talking about that. So for normal goods, there are ones that whose consumption rises as income rises. Recall that an inferior good is one whose consumption falls as income rises. So for inferior good, the income effect is negative. However, for the normal good, the income effect may be positive. This will bring us to the end of this particular session, that is the season 6, and the end of this course, Principles of Microeconomics. I believe you had an interesting time throughout all the sessions. If you did not understand any of the session, do well to replay it over and over for you to be able to understand. However, if you still don't understand, you can reach out to any of your center tutors of economics to break things down for you, or you can reach us online too. Until then, I will say thank you. Bye bye.